Using the WatchChild icon located on your desktop, you will log into WatchChild using your username and password that you also use to log into the computer. The surveillance screen will populate on the fixed monitors in the patient rooms and on the workstation on wheels. The fixed monitors will populate a single surveillance screen for the patient located in that room, and the workstation on wheels will populate multiple surveillance screens, such as you can see on the screen now. The office workstations will populate multiple beds on the surveillance screen, and the team station will populate only the census board. When there are multiple surveillance beds on the screen, select the strip you would like to annotate on and it will become full screen. To annotate on a patient's strip, right-click on the section of the screen where you want to annotate and the current time will populate in the annotation screen. If you have been idle in the system for too long, the login window will populate and you will need to re-enter your username and password to get back into the system. You may confirm you are annotating on the correct patient by checking the patient's name and J number at the top of the annotation screen, where my cursor is now. When you are annotating, you have multiple options to choose from to provide accurate annotations for the patient. These sections include category, field, and value. The category section provides interventions or procedures. The field section further filters the care you are providing to the patient. Within each intervention are multiple fields. From the fields, you can choose an action based on the care you're providing. The value section is specific actions taken, such as turning the fetal head or administering an IV bolus. You're also able to use the free text box at the bottom of the screen here and type in specific information that's not covered in the fields. You will notice that whatever you document will appear in the observation section at the bottom of the annotation window. Once you have finished your annotation, you may select OK. It will take you back to the surveillance screen and the information you documented will populate on the fetal strip. If you forgot to annotate on the strip at an earlier time period, you can right-click on the strip and the annotation window will open. You can correct the time to reflect the time that you meant to document. So I can change this to 8:30, enter my annotation, select OK, and that information will populate at 8:30. Using the trend button located in the lower left-hand corner under the fetal strip, you can use the white arrows to go back to a specific time where you need to document. I may right-click, and the annotation window will open for me. I can enter the information that I forgot to document. Once I complete the annotation, I can select OK, and that annotation will populate at 8:15. If I enter an annotation on the strip more than an hour after the specified time, the annotation will state late. Note, you can also use the right and left arrows to move forward or backward to a specific time on the strip. You can also use the begin button in the lower left-hand corner to start at the very beginning of the strip, or you can use the end button to go to the very end of the strip. If you know the time that you need to see on the strip, you can select Go To, choose your time, select OK, and you will move to the section that you've just chosen related to the time. If an emergency situation comes up, you can quickly right-click, the annotation window will appear, you can select Event, and that will put in a placeholder that will remind you to go back and document what happened during that emergency at a later time. To document on the event that occurred, I can right-click on the annotation. The annotation window will open for me, and I can enter my annotation. Once I'm done entering my information, I can select OK, and that annotation on the strip will change from emergency to the information that I have documented. Clicking on the maternal button at the bottom of the screen will provide the latest vital signs for the maternal patient. You can see my patient is located here and their vital signs populate for me. This is only if the nurse is using the fetal monitor to complete the maternal vital signs. If the nurse is using the spot monitor, they will not record in WatchChild. For both methods of vital sign collection, the nurse will document the findings on paper. To get back to my previous screen, I can select back, and my surveillance screen is back up. To edit an annotation, locate the time the annotation was made on the fetal strip. You can right-click on the annotation, and if you wish to remove it entirely, you can click on the X beside valid, select OK, and that annotation will be removed. If you wish to change the information that you've documented or add to it, you can right-click on the annotation and add the information. So I can add the individuals that were notified in relation to the IV. Once I add that information, I can select OK, and it will add to my annotation on the fetal strip. You may access the census board by clicking on the census button in the lower left-hand corner of the surveillance screen. This populates the list of patients currently on the unit. The census board is a summary of the unit and may be used quickly to understand patient care. The nurse can change the status of the patient on the census board and add their name beside the patient at the beginning of their shift. There are status buttons located at the top of the census board that correlate to colors on the actual census board. For example, observation is orange, antepartum is purple, labor is red, postpartum is blue, green is registered, gray is retrieved. There are other columns on the census board, such as nurse, the patient's name, and any remarks related to the patient. At this point, we will not be using any other columns located on the status board. I can select the chart button at the bottom of the screen, and this will take me to an area where I can see the fetal strip in the top right-hand corner. I can expand this strip by clicking on the arrow and dragging. I can also go to the anti-intrapartum flow sheet. Select annotation so that there's an X beside it in green, and I can select show. This will show all the annotations on my patient for that day. If I needed to edit something, I can select edit, and the annotation screen will populate for me so I can edit that information. I can also select strip analysis, and the system will analyze the strip when I click Analyze. The user can also mark up the strip using functions at the bottom of the strip, including mark A cell, mark D cell, and mark contraction. This may be used from an educational perspective. From the census board, if you would like to see more than one patient strip, you can select your first patient so it's highlighted in light green. Press and hold Control on your keyboard and select 2 or 3 more patients. Once you have the patient selected, you can choose View Strips, and then you can see the strip of the patients that you've selected all on one screen. If you would like to view more than one patient strip, from the surveillance screen, you can select Mark of the patients that you would like to see their strip. You can then select View Strips, and it will only show the strips of the patients that you want to see. To better understand how to manage alerts in the system, please refer to the Alert Management Tip Sheet. The X in the top right-hand corner will silence and close the active alert being displayed on the workstation. The Close All button in the lower left-hand corner will silence and close all active alerts from your workstation. Acknowledge will remove the alert from all workstations and will not return unless the condition persists past the re-alert delay period. Thank you for viewing the WatchChild annotation video. If you have any further questions, please contact extension 3805 or help desk for more information.